And you know where all of those comments are coming from?
Nice. I was hoping you would segue like that.
They're coming from our friends on USMNT Twitter. Connor, I want you to ask the first question.
Okay. Is USMNT Twitter the most toxic group out there?
So here's what I have to say on that. I work in a lab with very dangerous chemicals, things that will burn you, things that will melt your skin, things that will cause you to go blind, things that can kill you. I could take every single one of those chemicals, pour them into a bucket, walk it over to an active uranium 235 landmine field, pour my caustic chemicals over the U 235, and still be less infected than being in a toxic USMNT Twitter conversation. That is how bad USMNT Twitter is. Thank you for allowing me to put science on the podcast.
You're such a nerd, bro. You're such a nerd.
And I'm not calling out all USMNT fans. Of course, there are people who have really good logic, right? I have I went through some of the comments and I saw people who literally tweeted, I don't care if we win or lose this shootout. I just want Ferreira to miss so we can laugh at him again. I saw people tweet, Miles Robinson will be nowhere near our A team with performances like that after committing a single handball offense in the box. There is an entire section of our fan base, we spoke about this earlier, that would rather see our national team lose games than see certain players succeed. And not just MLS, by the way. There are players that they will pick who are just like, I don't like him. I hope we lose so that I can talk about how bad this guy is. People have watched the same game and said Jalen Neal is an absolute lock for 2026 after impressing in a game versus St. Kitts and Nevis. And in the same breath, said Jesus Ferreira scoring a hat trick doesn't count. And then when Jalen Neal swings and misses at a clearance in Canada, which nearly gives them a goal, it's he's young, he's still learning. Jesus Ferreira, 2 years older than him, gets played out of position for 45 minutes as a right center mid. And you're sitting there saying, this guy's not coming anywhere close to our A team. He can't even score a goal against Canada. It's just toxic, like, I need to be right by hating on people that makes the conversation about soccer so unfun. Like the reason I take breaks from Twitter after soccer, after USMNT soccer. It's not everybody, but the people who claim to be these super USMNT fans who actively want to see certain people fail just so that they can have a point to talk about, I don't get it. And here's the thing, we used to talk about it all the time, like, oh, I can't wait for Sargent to go in and fail so the Euro snobs understand. But here's the deal, if Sargent scores a hat trick, I'm throwing my hat in the air and I'm celebrating. Like, I'm not sitting here like, I can't believe he just scored a hat trick to win us a game. You know, like there are different ways to like not like a player. The people who go out and will look for any excuse for their favorite players to be okay, but their least favorite players to be, what's the word? Crucified, I guess, lack of a better term. It's just so toxic and outrageous. There are always excuses for the European based players, calls for the heads of the MLS ones, or even just players that you like versus players that you don't. And people always say, like, oh, it's not MLS. It's just that there are better MLS players we want to see. And then they bring in those other MLS players, and it's the same commentary. If Pepe stays at FC Dallas, we're hearing the same thing about Ferreira that we hear about, or we're hearing the same thing about here, we hear about Ferreira. If Jalen Neal doesn't move, I guarantee you within 2 years, he's getting slandered like Miles or Walker Zimmerman. I will put money on it because anybody who plays in MLS apparently just can't play soccer. And it's wrong. It's unbelievably toxic. It's outrageous. It's stupid.
You know who's the perfect example for that? Jordy Mihailovic.
Yes.
He has been like taunted and like beloved by all of USMNT Twitter for his Gold Cup performances, which have been really great. And I love to see it. But when he was tearing it up with Montreal and MLS, not a single word was said about him. with the national team. Not a peep. Nobody was calling for him to be in the national team. They probably didn't even know he existed. Now all of a sudden he's in Europe, and now he's a god, and we should get him involved with the A team. And meanwhile, in the same tweet, I bookmarked the tweet. I bookmark a bunch of
I love
great
it.
Eurosnob tweets. In the tweet, complimenting Jordi Mihailovic for a great assist, which it was a fantastic assist. It is slandering Jesus Ferreira for scoring against only minnows. So apparently only European based players can do good things against bad teams, and MLS players have to basically just not exist in those games. I mean, even if he scored 15 goals, it would probably not still be enough. He's only scoring against garbage teams, dentists, butchers, But
It's
when
just
Jesus Ferreira, when Jordi Mihailovic does it, who's immediately in Europe now, all of a sudden he's fantastic, and we should get him in the national team.
and my favorite part about that, right, is everybody's talking about how he's playing at a higher level in Europe. He has 500 minutes in Europe, has scored 1 goal, 1 assist, and is balling out against St. Kitts and Nevis. And you guys are just flipping out for this guy. And here's the thing: I love the fact that he is playing at a good level right now in the national team. I have no idea what he's doing in Europe because, again, I don't sit down and watch the Eredivisie on a Saturday morning. Maybe I will. I don't know. Probably not. But here's the deal: if you're going to go out and say, yeah, you can't take anything from these games, don't slander Jesus. Don't praise Jordy. Don't praise James Sand. Don't praise Jalen Neal. Don't slander don't slander Zendejas if you're going to say that these games don't matter. If you're going to go out and say the only thing you can do is show bad performances, that's fair. Zendejas was poor. Sonora was poor. Tolkien was poor. These guys playing against lower teams who should have been really, really good were not. Plain and simple. And that is okay. You are allowed to have that opinion. I 100% agree. But you can't go out and say certain players' performances don't matter, but other players do, and use the team that they play against as the same argument. It's silly. The toxicity. And here's the thing. And then it's the argument that comes on about it. And it's just like the points that get made are so dumb. It's like Miles Robinson will never be in our A team again. Hey, Miles Robinson's our best 1v1 defender. Miles Robinson plays in MLS, so that's physically impossible. What? Like, where are we like, you can't even pull a stat. You can't pull a number. You can't do anything. You're just going to say he plays in a league. And again, this is a very bottled, conversation because I don't have all these tweets saved. But I bet you if I went on to Twitter right now, I bet you I could probably just pull up. Let's search Jesus Ferreira. Latest. High pressure game, decent opponent equals Jesus Ferreira disappeared. That's from USMNT Snob. USMNT Snob also has 0 tweets about, nothing about Jalen Neal missing that ball. Nothing about, nothing about anything except for Jesus Ferreira. Now, granted, his 5 followers are probably loving. Let's see. What else do we have? Shocker. Jesus Ferreira doesn't do a damn thing against a good opponent. I'm shocked. Sarcasm. Oh, look. Nothing about anybody else. It's almost like, and I know this is going to sound crazy, it's almost like these people don't actually know what they're talking about, but they see something on Twitter that somebody got a lot of likes for, and they're repeating it in hopes that they get more likes. I know, crazy, but that's what it seems like to me.
I mean, Sargent's USMNT numbers are literally basically identical to Ferreira's. I mean, just look at who he scored against for the national team. It's like Bolivia, Cuba. His best is he's got a goal against Peru. And then I think he had like an assist against Jamaica. I'm trying to find if I missed anything.
No, that's about what I got. Here's the deal. I think we've gone on a good little bit. USMNT Twitter is toxic. Anybody who disagrees, spend one night after a USMNT game. Don't even tweet at them. Just follow a couple of USMNT accounts and then read the comments on any tweet they put out. And it's a bunch of people who don't know the game and feel like they need to lose their mind over a C team not being perfect with a interim to the interim head coach, and they expect every game to be perfect and have 150-0 scoreline, instead of saying, hey, this is a pretty good opportunity for some of our players to show that they can do it against lesser teams. Because guess what? If you can't do it against these lesser teams, there's not a shot that you can do it against the next step up. But if you can do it against these lesser teams, guess what? Now you get yourself a chance. Nobody is out here saying, most sane people are not out here saying being successful in a Gold Cup against St. Kitts and Trinidad gets you into the A team. However, what most people are or should be saying is having a good performance here means maybe you get called in and get some sub minutes with the A team or with our B team going to certain friendlies or tournaments. But the idiocracy behind, oh man, I can't wait to yell at somebody for being excited that one of our players has scored 3 goals in back-to-back games because I think that they think that he's going to be a number one striker. And I don't like that because he's in MLS and that simply cannot be a thing. It's like it's not worth the trouble. Like I would much rather never have a conversation about the US men's national team ever again than have to sit through USMNT Twitter like consistent. People who do that, I feel so bad.
Yep. Yep.